NFL fans, we are midway through the 2019 NFL offseason, and no team in the NFL has more hype surrounding them than the Cleveland Browns going into the 2019 NFL season with their big free agent signings and their big blockbuster trades. And yet, the Cleveland Browns are already midway through the 2019 NFL offseason surrounded in drama. Duke Johnson once again announcing that he wants to get traded. He wants out of Cleveland. Find out and keep watching the video to find out what he said, what Baker Mayfield said in response to Duke Johnson's trade request, and what Freddie Kitchens also had to say about Duke Johnson's trade request. What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports back to you guys with another video. In the Cleveland Browns, the team that has the most hype going into this year's NFL season, is already embroiled in controversy. Before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I upload NFL videos and NFL content daily. Also, make sure to share this video on your social media pages as it helps this channel grow and it spreads the word of this channel. I want to become the biggest NFL channel on YouTube. Help me achieving my goal by liking this video and subscribing and sharing this video with your friends and family on your social media pages or however you communicate with your friends and acquaintances. So Duke Johnson has once again reminded the Cleveland Browns that he wants to get traded. And instead of me talking about what he said, I'm just go ahead and roll the clip.
I don't look at that as being blindsided. You've been in this business long enough. You start to get the feel for it. You know what's coming next. So again, me just trying to get ahead of my situation.
So Duke, do you want to be traded right now, Duke? You do want to be traded right now?
Yes, ma'am.
So they keep saying, Freddie Kitchens says it, John Dorsey says, hey, there's a place for Duke. He's going to be an important part of this team. So do you not buy that or what?
I mean, I can be. And you can look at it as me being a big part of this team on the field or as a trade piece. It just depends on where you look at it. But either way it go, I can be a vital part of this team.
Will you be all in if you are on this team in September?
I was here when we was only 16. I was all in. Nothing changes now. At the end of the day, I'm a professional. And again, since I've been here, you not once heard about me not wanting to be here from coaches, players, anyone, or just my attitude and being disgruntled. Last year was frustrated at most, but far as just being upset and not doing my job because of my feelings, you never heard of it, and you probably never will, because at the end of the day, I'm here to do a job, and I'm going to do that job as long as I'm here.
So is it?
So basically what Duke Johnson is saying is that he really wants out of Cleveland. He's been a part of this franchise, and ever since he's been drafted, no coach or nobody in the front office of Cleveland has ever had to question how much he was putting in, how much effort he was giving the Cleveland Browns. I mean, and that is true. I mean, this guy was part of the 0-16 season. I mean, he joked about that jokingly. And I mean, he was the best player on that team. And he was the best player on the Cleveland Browns before, the 2018 NFL season came around and they drafted Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry. So, I mean, he has the right to feel upset, and I feel he has a right to demand for a trade, And also, I felt he was going to get traded even before they signed the addition of Kareem Hunt in free agency because his touches went down. He only had 87 touches this season. Now, here's what Baker Mayfield had to say about the situation. Baker Mayfield, in response to Duke Johnson's trade request, said, "It's not awkward. It's self-inflicted," Baker Mayfield said of Johnson's situation Tuesday, according to 92.3 The Fans' Keith Burton. "I hope he does his job." I really don't like this response by Baker Mayfield. I don't like this response by Baker Mayfield. I understand he's the franchise quarterback. He's the guy, but it's not really good to be calling out teammates like this, man. And I mean, quarterbacks have the right to do that, but I mean, really, only certain quarterbacks in this league that are playing right now have the right to call out teammates in front of the media like that. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Big Ben, Russell Wilson are a couple of guys to mention, but I mean, even when Aaron Rodgers and Big Ben called out their teammates, it didn't go right. I mean, when Big Ben called out Antonio Brown in front of the media, he went crazy. He didn't handle it well, and we all saw how that ended. He ended up getting traded to the Oakland Raiders, forcing his way out of Pittsburgh. And then Aaron Rodgers calling out his wide receivers. His wide receivers didn't respond too well from it. So you mean it's certain ways to go about situations. Baker Mayfield, he was asked this question, but he could have worded this way better than how he worded it. I think it was a better way of handling this. He could have just skipped the question. Like Tom Brady, he gets asked questions about this and he just, he avoids it. He's just like, I'm just going to avoid this question, or he just skips the question, says not going to answer that or stuff like that. Baker Mayfield didn't have to answer the question. If he felt he should have given a response, I think it could have been a little bit better worded. And also, I don't think, he should be calling out players like this. I understand he's the franchise guy and stuff like that, but he's only, played one season. He wasn't even the week one starter. So I just think he needs to have a little bit more clout under his name other than just starting 1 year for the franchise before he can just go ahead and start calling out players in the media like that. So here's what Freddie Kitchens had to say about the situation. Roll the clip.
I don't have any comment to that. I don't know anything about that. I would assume that the head coach would be informed of that. And like I said initially, Duke is a Cleveland Brown. We're not. I mean, he's here. He's here. It's mandatory now. He's here. So before it was not mandatory, it's voluntary. So he didn't have to be here. But he's here now. He's a part of the team. We'll have a plan for Duke, and I expect him to have a good year.
So, as far as you guys trying to trade him, are you saying that did not happen?
Not to my knowledge.
Freddie, he did not sound like the fence could be mended. He feels that the relationship is at a point where it can't be repaired. So will John Dorsey get together with him and try and mend that fence to get him on board with what you guys hope to get out of him this year?
Duke practice today and he practice hard. I expect him to be a professional, and I think he will be.
So basically, what Freddie Kitchens said is that, we all have to come to the job under certain circumstances. You might not like the job that you work at, but you're under contract. You have to show up and you have to do your job, no matter if you like it or not. And I understand what he's saying from that aspect. Duke Johnson, he may not want to play for the Browns. He may want to get traded. He might want this and that, but he still has a contractual obligation to fulfill by playing with the Cleveland Browns. And every time he shows up to OTAs or minicamp, he has a job to do, and he has to give 110% to the Cleveland Browns. And Duke Johnson, I believe that he acknowledges that, and he acknowledges that himself. And I believe he has given the Cleveland Browns 110%. After this and the question, it's just the fact that he went to the media with this a second time. And I mean, I don't really know what he's trying to do. I don't know if he's trying to, pull on Antonio Brown or something like that, because everybody in the media already knew that he wanted to get traded. So, I mean, I don't really know the reason behind, bringing this to the media again. I mean, I know he was asked about it, but, he could have, avoided it, or he could have kind of played it off. Everybody knows he wants to get traded. So I understand what he did. He has a right to demand a trade, but I just think the way that he went about it, is the thing that got Baker Mayfield fired up and made Baker Mayfield respond the way he responded. Because I think in Baker Mayfield's eyes is that he knows Duke Johnson's a very talented player, but I think Baker Mayfield, he kind of feels like if you don't want to be here, don't show up. I think that's how Baker Mayfield is kind of looking at the situation. But this probably could have been handled a lot better. If he's trying to use this to force his way out, go ahead, but being smart from a football's perspective, I don't think the Cleveland Browns are going to trade him until after the trade deadline, which is week 8. And Kareem Hunt is serving a 9-game suspension. So, he can still be a big part of this team, like he said. He could be a big part of the offense, or he could just be a big part of the team by just being trade bait. But the smart thing to do would to just trade him during the trade deadline, because that's when the injuries happen and stuff like that, or teams might want to upgrade their current running back position. So that's when teams will go ahead and make that trade there. Injuries, or they just want to upgrade at the running back position. And I don't really see the Cleveland Browns getting a lot of value until the season starts. I think they probably could get a fourth or fifth round pick for Duke Johnson at the most. But I think they still want Duke Johnson on the roster, because you always want to have the most talented team on the field. And Duke Johnson and Nick Chubb gives them a very solid 1-2 punch at that running back position until Nick Chubb comes back. So they trade Duke Johnson week 8, the trade deadline, and then they only have to wait roughly about maybe a week or 2 weeks until Nick Chubb is able to come back and play. Maybe they bring a running back up from the practice squad or something like that. That's how I think they should handle the situation. They should still try to keep on the roster. And if I was them, I wouldn't even trade him at all. You can never have too many good football players. You don't have to trade a player. He'd have been in the trade, but you're not really going to get a lot of good compensation for him and stuff like that. Like, you're not going to get a first round pick for Duke Johnson. I think the most the Cleveland Browns can get for Duke Johnson is a fourth or fifth round pick, because he is a very good player. He was the best player on the Cleveland Browns roster before Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry came around. So, he's a very solid player, and I think he would be a very big upgrade for whichever team decides to trade for him, because he is a very good receiving back. So, he can line up in slot. He can also catch out the backfield. It's very hard to find running backs that can line up and play slot receiver as well as play running back. So, I still think this whole situation could have been handled very differently and better by the part of Baker Mayfield and Duke Johnson. But let me know what you guys think about this whole situation down in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.